Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Gig. I'm your host, Mike Redman. On Gig, I interview talented, experienced people in the film and music industry so you can learn what they do for a living. Today, my guest is Tomas Cookman, the hardworking president of the Latin music label Nacional, located in LA. We'll talk about how to prepare to get a record deal and the challenges facing artists today. Tomas is a warm, cordial guy and has some deep insight into the record business. So as always, let's jump right in. Hi, Tomas. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you.
I really appreciate taking some time to speak with me today on Gig. And you're the CEO, president, founder, chairman, the big boss of the celebrated Latin record label Nacional. Could you just start off by telling me what it is you love about the record business?
Well, I think it's something internal that you just wake up one day and realize, well, I basically don't have much of a choice. This is the road I've taken, and I've got to figure it out along the way. And some of us figure it out, and some of us a little bit less. But I think regardless of whether you have any level of success in this space, it's the love of music that unites us all.
It's there's a lot more. I spend a lot of time talking to younger people and doing some coaching, and I'm always trying to explain that it's just the music business. And I said, just kind of take it out. It could be donuts, it could be whatever you want, but it's the business, and you make it sound like it's the love of music only, but you must be quite a businessman to make all of this work.
Next year is going to be our 20th anniversary. And over these 20 years, we've released a lot of music. We've had over 100 Grammy and Latin Grammy wins and nominations, and a couple number ones, and a couple failures that still piss me off, and good stuff like that. But and it is, whenever somebody comes to work here, I always say, listen, if this is your job and you just clock out at 6 p.m. and you don't think about it till the next day, I don't think this is for you. There's many other jobs that could be great, and you could be a stamp collector the rest of the day, or a keyboard player, whatever it is that drives your passion. But if you're not, it's same thing like if you want to be a Broadway actor, or if you want to be a dancer, if you want to be a painter, you got to put your soul into it. And over the years, the people who've had most success at this company, or who have gone on to other major companies in bigger roles, they all have had that, I love this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's a little bit all-encompassing. I'm going to ask you a little bit more about those in a few minutes. But hey, you have an incredible office. Do you have a computer you can turn around and just show us your place?
Sure. Right now I'm in the conference room, and
okay,
the conference room where
you have 75,000 records.
A lot of records, and out that way is the bullpen and all the different separate individual offices, and we're lucky enough to have a parking lot here for us. And also we're lucky enough to have a performance space.
Oh, so really?
We have our artists come into town, and it's, for 50 people, but it's closed and it has lights and a PA, and I will invite the Spotifys and the Amazons and the cool outlets to come see whoever we happen to have in town that week.
Oh man, that is awesome. That must be really fun to actually, get to experience some of your own acts playing live at your place. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. In our case, when you say Latin music is so many different things. It's like saying European music. There's everything from rock to hip hop to electronica to reggae, and really great examples of all of that. So at any given time, we could have an Afro-Cuban, rapper woman who's amazing, who also plays the flute here, or we can have a shoegazer band from Argentina, or we can, have a funk band from a couple blocks away. So I think that's what makes it interesting. I think I would have been a lot more bored if I had just, with all due respect, it's a heavy metal band, and it's all just one specific type of heavy metal, like death metal or something. I think that would drive me crazy. I like having the variety.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that faces Latin artists today?
I think that we've gone to the point that the challenges that any artist who identifies as Latino, for whatever reason they do, is the same as anywhere else. I think the world has become unified in that sense. So if something's a problem because you sing in Spanish, it's the same problem if you sing in English. The same challenges and same. I mean, here in the U.S. is where we're at, right? It's how to connect the dots and how to reach fans. It's just the same for whether you're a backpack rapper or you're a rapper from the Dominican Republic who happens to hit New York and is amazing. So, and that's the beauty of it, and that's the challenge of it, and it's a fun trip. I mean, for example, we have a really great indie rock band from Argentina, El Mato. We're beginning to reach out beyond their Latino core audience. They just got off a tour of Interpol here in the U.S. They're featured on the new Talking Heads tribute record that A24 put together for Stop Making Sense. And that's not an anomaly. I mean, those types of stories we're hearing over and over from all different acts, and I think that's exciting as well.
How about for indie record labels? What's the biggest challenge that labels are facing today?
Well, I think that it became a little bit easier with the growth of the big indie distributors like the Orchards and the ADAs. And in the Latin space, there's even more. There's a bunch more that are supporting indie labels with advances that they never had access to before, or access to some of the biggest DSPs that maybe they didn't have before. And if you have a little bit more money, you could hire maybe a better publicist. You could hire maybe a better quality marketing manager in your office, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's helping me. And it also plays into how successful, particularly the Orchard is in the Latin space, because they got it from the get-go. It's like, okay, well, let's invest in this space. And at any given time, they have, a couple slots on the top 10 global, either YouTuber or iTunes charts or positions based on the Latin acts that they believed in. And that's exciting.
What type of people do you hire at Nacional?
Back in the day when it really was shoestring, I used to just hire people who really love music. Mm-hmm. And as we probably all know, when we hang out with people who just have this amazing love of music, you also bring a lot of knuckleheads in that. So initially, I overlooked the fact that they were a knucklehead and just that they love music, or I love the music they listen to, or maybe I love the way they dressed or something, or a combination of that. That's what sort of, and then after a while, you get a couple issues with employees and you go, maybe I should ask if they are college graduates. We did that for a little while. I was like, well, no, there's people who didn't finish college who are still amazing in music and marketing and promoting and just helping to put the dots together. So today, it really, we have some trigger questions that we ask people who we advertise to come in. And another factor now, especially because of the pandemic, we've been so open to having people in other countries. I've got someone who works for me in Argentina who's amazing. We've got people in Spain who are incredible. I wish I had them here in the U.S., but we don't. So we have them remotely. So, I'm a big fan of having everybody in the office and we sit together.
I like the social aspect, yeah.
Yeah. And I think especially for the younger folks, it's great to have those other role models to come in and say, hey, do I turn left or I turn right? Well, don't turn right because there's a tiger waiting there for you. Turn left. Because if you look good, we look good. Mm-hmm. And if you say something stupid, you're saying something stupid in our name. For example, if somebody from Universal or Warner sends an email out and it has tons of mistakes and they go, oh, what the fuck's going on at Universal? Mm-hmm. Or what's going on at Universal? It's not like what's going on with, Robert Long or whoever the person's name is. So we take that at heart, but and it's only so much you could when you're remote. There's only so much you can be in constant contact. Here we have a real open door policy, so everybody, there's no knocking, just come in and ask the question. And I wish I had that when I started. And luckily, there were people who were for no reason beyond they just wanted to be nice. Were always very open and nice to me. For example, when I first started, a guy who I believe is one of the architects of the modern label system, which is Zach Horowitz, we never had any business together. But Zach was running Universal. This is before Lucian. And he's always like, Tomas, let's have lunch and let's talk. And to this day, when I have like a pondering question on Zach's on my very, very short list of who do I talk to? Hey, Zach, should I turn left or should I turn right? Where's the tiger?
Isn't that nice to have that, though? I mean,
my God, yes.
the connection, the relationship, the history with somebody like that you're comfortable doing that. Tomas, if I was a Latin artist and I had a really good, solid social following, my music was awesome, should I try to contact your label, and how would I do that?
Well, on our website, there's a little A&R click, and people send in stuff all the time. And we're one of the few labels that actually answer every single person. And some weeks we'll have 5 people send in, and some weeks we'll have 105 people, and some weeks we'll have more. And even with the very simple answer of like, hey, we got it, and if it's something that works for us, we'll reach back out to you. In other words, don't call us, we'll call you, but at least, you know, we got it. And I do that more than anything else because I remember back in the day of sending out my demos when I was in a band and no one ever answered. Or when they did answer and they said no, I was like, it was cool. I remember once going to the Rock and Roll Museum in Cleveland, and there was a whole exhibit of rejection letters that U2 got.
Oh, wow.
From different labels. And I'm like,
ouch.
Yeah, but that was beautiful to see. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, even the Beatles famously had a rejection letter, I think, from Decca or somebody. So it's
the person that wrote that's probably kicking themselves in the butt.
I think they did back in '63 or something. But absolutely, and I think that's part of the process. I think any single time you get up on stage, you're subjecting yourself to something. I'm walking away or just not understanding what it is that you're trying to tell them.
If I'm that same artist, and I mean, what new kind of things can you think of that I could be starting to learn about, or things that I could be doing that would help me gain the attention of a company like yours, or just maybe some general advice on how to make my journey a little easier?
Well, I think that nowadays, if you really want to be a musician, it's that much more hard. It's easier, of course. It's easier to record. You can do stuff at home, which is passable, and even sometimes a hit. But it's so much harder because all of a sudden you need to be a media director. You need to be a content creator, and not necessarily you have to do a TikTok dance, but you have to know how to make a post. You have to know how to be visual. And there's so many other things involved in telling your story now, which complicates things. At the end of the day, I think that if an artist truly is going to break out, they're going to get to their audience. I mean, it's just like that in that hot dog stand. That hot dog stand, the longest line, there's a reason why it has the longest line, and the one down the block doesn't have a line. Or a coffee shop or whatever it may be that floats your boat. And I think in our case, also because the majors are more attentive to that as well, specifically the Latin majors. If someone's making a lot of noise on social media, it hits them a lot quicker than it did before. They're not waiting for a cassette tape to come in. They're always looking around, and they have more and more people. And with the labels growing and Latin music growing as much, the Latin labels have grown. And it's interesting because back in the day when I first started, if you were like a smart, hip, young Latina or Latino, I don't want to go work at major label X Latin because it's all folky music, and it's not me, it's my mom and my grandma. It's not my music. But that's changed. So those same kids that were then going, well, I'm going to go work at Atlantic because that's cool. Or I'm going to work at Def Jam, or I'm going to work at Sub Pop. Now they're working at the Latin labels, and you could see it. I mean, we, on our management side, we're fortunate enough to work with really big artists. Not that I'm big on this or not. And you can just tell by the teams. The teams, I mean, there's kids that are there that are like my kids' age, and that's exciting because they bring a different perspective to it. And also, I think it's also one of the many reasons why Latin music has exploded as much as it has.
How is AI starting to play a role in your business?
In the Latin side of things, it hasn't really yet.
Nice.
I think it's a buzzword and people are attentive to it. And you know, whether the latest rap battle has AI help or not, I mean, it's okay. We hear about it, we see it, we experience it. But in the Latin space, it really hasn't been an issue yet. And it's not because of no one's adapted to it or it's not reached. I mean, those days are over. If something is big in Paris today, it's big in Mexico City that same afternoon. If it's big in Los Angeles, it's big in Buenos Aires that very same morning. I mean, that was one of the biggest issues before. I mean, stuff used to take months sometimes to reach these other markets, not just Latin America, but also sometimes within Europe and definitely Africa and Asia. Everything's immediate. We're all living together.
That's interesting you say that, because I mean, other people that I talk to, because I talk to a lot of film composers and music houses, trailer houses, a lot of different folks, and they're all, I just talked to somebody that's at Playtone, and she is Deva Anderson. She's the head of music there, and we were talking about it, and they were talking about all of the ways that they're starting to use it just as tools, you know, the tools for, she says, we have a whole set of AI tools now for mixing, for example.
Absolutely.
Or then I've got another friend that I won't mention his name, but he just said, well, I've got some, you know, we've got this great program that you cannot tell when I change my voice to Ricky Martin's. He says, now he says, of course, I can't use it anywhere. He said, unless I just want to have my backgrounds by him. You know, but it's kind of interesting to watch. I'll probably come back and ask you the same question in a year or two. We'll see.
It's interesting that in that sense. I mean, in a commercial side, we're not using it, but on a demo side, and we have a singer, young singer, Venezuelan singer who lives in Paris, who says, you know, Tomas, I really want to do this as a duet with a woman. I'm going to record my voice and then pick a woman's voice and have her.
Wow.
And it was like, yeah, find her. She was amazing.
My daughter, she's in Brooklyn. She turns me on to great, just alternative music. She said, Dad, I listen to nothing but just, you know, because alternative music is everybody, you know, doing their own thing. And I just love that.
That's a great way to look at it. You know, going back to, I mentioned earlier, we do this big music conference, and it happens to be called the LAMC, which is Latin Alternative Music Conference.
Oh, okay.
It's not alternative in the sense of like flannel shirts in Seattle. It's alternative, alternative when we started it 25 years ago, of everything else that was happening at the time. I mean, you had Gloria Estefan and Julio Iglesias, but no, there's a whole other world that we're doing really well in. And if you don't know who they are, that's okay, because we live in a niche world.
I've just got a couple more things to ask you. One is, how big a role does, you know, film, TV, and advertisement placement have in your company?
Oh, massive. We are fortunate enough to be based in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, so close to lots of music supervisors. I mean, there's cases. I mean, for example, in FIFA football game, you know, the video, we've had like 25 songs over the years.
Wow.
Or, for example, there's a wonderful example. We have this Chilean woman named Ana Tijoux. Ana Tijoux had a song in an episode of Breaking Bad when Breaking Bad was big around the world. And typically when they sync a song 20 seconds, maybe 30, they're lucky, they use 3 minutes of this one song.
Wow.
Through the desert, all on a drug trip. It was such a great use, and it was such a long use that wherever Breaking Bad was a hit, that song was a hit. So we have platinum records from Israel, from obviously all of Latin America.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah.
Because of that one use. And we've had lots of other commercial uses. We've been very, very, very fortunate. And also, since we are typically a one-stop shop, it's an easy call for most music supervisors to call Nacional Records.
Tomas, what's your favorite hobby outside of music?
As corny as it sounds, family time.
Cooking. Excuse me, honey.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll take that out. Yeah. I've got somebody downstairs. We got a dinner party coming up.
Good too.
So family time, good for you.
Yeah.
Do you get enough of it?
Absolutely. I've been heavily married for 30 years, which is incredible.
Wow.
In our business or any business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you got to have those good people in your lives, those anchors.
Yeah, that's great. That families, you get to a certain age and you realize that beyond everything else, if you've been lucky enough, I call it, if you work hard enough, you'll get lucky. If you're lucky enough, you'll have a life balance that makes it all work for you.
Absolutely. And we have 2 kids. A wise person once told me you don't want to be outnumbered, so we stopped at 2. A good dog that actually knows my name, and when I get home every day is so excited that I'm home. So
oh man, come on.
Cross all those things off my list.
That's great. Artist deal you're most proud of?
On the label side, there are artists that I thought that it's going to be a challenge finding the audience for these acts, but they went on to do big things. There's a band called Bomba Stereo, who are doing amazing business around the world, or NTG, who I just mentioned, Nortec Collective. It's kind of crazy, there's so many acts like that I'm just so proud that they actually went on to. I wasn't the only one who thought that they were extremely special. That's
cool. Okay, last rapid fire here. If you hadn't have gone into music business, and I assume it sounds like you were an artist yourself at one point, what would you be doing today?
I started studying advertising. I skipped a bunch of grades in school. I skipped like 11th grade and 8th grade, and it's not because I was so smart, because I really hated school.
There's two of us there.
You could be a doctor. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of studying. You can't skip in medical school. So, and I love the kitchen. So maybe something in food.
Last question. If I wanted to be Tomas Cookman, and I'm a younger version of yourself, what advice might you give me today in today's world? As some couple steps to help me get started?
I think be the fly on the wall anytime you can. Be friendly, be nice, don't rip people off, and just try to listen to as much music as possible.
Tomas, you're an awesome guy. I know that. And you are very friendly. And you were kind enough to talk to me early on while I was writing my first music book. And then later on, it's helped a lot of people, I believe.
Absolutely.
I can tell you this, don't ever write books for money. I wish you much success, and we will be back in touch. And I'm going to call you in a couple of years. I want to hear what's going on with AI in the Latin world.
And good luck with the recipe, and hopefully the new table fits everybody.